being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a grab.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's the warrior spirit right there, boy.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
90-yard touchdown. 90-yard touchdown.
It's going to be picked off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Herbert sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Guyton. Caught! Touchdown Chargers!
That's the greatest throw I've ever seen.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast with a special end-of-season roundtable episode. I'm your host, Andy Prophet, joined as always by Jack Reed and Alistair Lloyd. Boys, I speak for each of us when I say we are delighted to have TDU's great mate and fair dinkum all-round legend, Kyle.
Who the H-E-double fuck are you?
Antonio.
Kyle.
Please, Kyle. Yes, Kyle. That's good, Kyle. Give me those numbers, Kyle.
Give me those numbers, Kyle.
Hey, that's good, Kyle. Just creeps me out every time, just right. It's great to see you guys.
Welcome on board again, mate. Al shared some stories of your encounters over in the States. I hope he wasn't too much of a pest. I apologize if so. How have you been since the wildcard catastrophe?
Oh, man. That was a hard one. That was a real hard one. Al, what was worse? Your hangover after that one night we stayed up learning how to play craps, or the Jaguars game?
You kept making me Negronis and shit. I was out of control. Thankfully, my very sober wife was sitting there listening to your brilliant tutorial on how to win at the casino, because then we took that and ran with it in Vegas. So that was fantastic. But no, the Jags loss was worse. That was the worst loss as a Chargers fan. I don't think I would have been saying that. I didn't think I'd be saying that again after the Raiders catastrophe last year, but here we are.
Yeah, that was the lowest I have felt since the 06 game. That's the worst loss since then for me personally. But hey, you let that go. You look forward to another off season, which is the longest running joke I have is that's where the Chargers are undefeated and where I have the most fun each year is these months, which you guys probably have figured out with how much I like to nerd out and why all of a sudden I start writing articles again is in the off season. This is where my imagination can run free when hope just flows. So it's a good time, guys. It's a good time. We're champions again. Actually,
let's have some fun. Let's go. Come on, let's bring the energy back up. Let's
go.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love the enthusiasm. So, like I said, just getting into it. Today, bit of a fun roundtable discussion between the four of us. It seems our academic maestro Jack has had himself a few paid weeks of leave over the holidays, and has whipped up some segments for us to use to generate, some reflective evaluation of the Chargers season just past. I look back at some of the best plays or moments, and just have a bit of fun and cap things off in a positive way. So, without further ado, over to you, Jackie boy. What do you got in store for us?
Thank you very much, Andy. Well, we've got three sort of separate segments today. The first segment which we're going to start with is called 2022 Compass or Chargers Compass Points. Then we're going to go into a bit of a fun segment called Chargers Menu-De-Jour or Menu of the Day, which we'll put some creative effort into, which I think hopefully will provide some laughs. And then we're going to go with some NFL and Chargers props in segment 3. So before much else, are we good to go? I think we are. Awesome. Let's start with our 2022 Chargers Compass Points. What we decided as a 4 over the last couple of weeks is we've actually put together 6 propositions and we've been preparing some responses to them. And the way that we have organised our responses, we've kind of taken the compass points, north, south, east and west. We're going to talk about what excites us the most about the prop, what worries us about the prop, and we've got the end, which is our north. So what else do you need to know to figure out if you're going to about the prop, or what your opinion is going to be? And then obviously south or S, which is your stance or suggestion as you're moving forward. So what is your current stance on that prop? So our first prop is Kellen Moore is the perfect OC for Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Experienced yet fresh play caller who will unlock Herbert's arm and accuracy. Alistair, let's throw straight to you. How do you feel about that prop? Let's go.
Yeah, my stance is that's the best possible hire for this stage of the available candidates. Now, we were talking before the show about how, look, I do like the idea of giving a young Zach Robinson, the Rams kind of QB coach, pass game coordinator, a go, because you never know what you've got until you give someone a go to play calls. But Brandon Staley is in a do or die situation this year, right? We've learnt since the hiring that the two of them were texting back and forwards for most of the season. And if I'm Brandon Staley and I know this is the year I've got to get it right, do I put my faith in an untested OC who may be a very smart young man, former PFF analyst, NFL quarterback, give him a chance? Or do I take Kellen Moore, who just quite frankly has coordinated one of the best offenses in the NFL for 4 seasons now across 2 different head coaches, which people are overlooking a little bit. So he had Jason Garrett, then he had Mike McCarthy, all the while the offense remained pretty good despite having to manage those 2 different personality types. So current stance is it's a prudent signing. It's a very exciting signing for Chargers fans. I'm excited about it. You know, we've all dug into his background a little bit. And so I'll throw to Kyle maybe to continue things. Are you similarly excited about the hire? Do you feel like Kellen's the guy?
I'm very excited about the hire, yes. In terms of, it seems like he was the best guy available. I mean, when you have a young head coach like Staley that is still pretty inexperienced, the less guys that you have to teach up, the better. The more that can provide sound structural support for him is great. So I like that he's been a play caller and has excelled, just like you said, Alistair. I had the same thing written down. Under 2 different head coaching regimes, it says something that Mike McCarthy came into the building and said, no, I want to keep that guy. That alone's a pretty good sign in my eye. What kind of concerns me, and Jack, I apologize, man, if this makes things harder, because this is something that I wrote as like a future point, talking point potentially on our other segment. But the one thing that does concern me is I feel like it does create a need to make sure we really hit this quarterback coach hire, because there's a very strong chance that Moore is a one and done. He's gone. Maybe if I'm Zach Robinson, am I looking at that, and is he still potentially able to be hired as our quarterback coach?
That would be so good.
Yeah.
Which would be more of a lateral move for him. But it's not a lateral move if you're moving to a head coach that's on the defensive side of the ball. Moore could then leave if he does well this year, which is what we all expect, and he'd be first in line to be the offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator underneath a defensive head coach, which makes him the king of the offense. So that's a couple different, kind of swerved it a little off topic there, but that's where the Moore hiring takes me mentally.
100%. Andy, what did you have anything to add there? So what do you might need to see in the next couple of months to think that, Kellen Moore is the perfect OC for Justin Herbert, the Chargers? Have you got anything there?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think what I need to know and what I need to see is what the organization is going to bring for Kellen Moore, and 100%. We've got weapons. We've got running backs where Kellen Moore can utilize some of the stuff that he was doing in Dallas to, excel this offense and the weapons that we have. But there's just a couple of things missing. And we want to see, the direction of the draft, maybe bring in a speed wide receiver, because free agency is going to get a little tight, and if at all existent. And I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit down the track. So I want to see, quarterback coach is a really good point, and that's a dream scenario, isn't it? We spoke on our last show about Zach Robinson being a candidate to take the job, and, especially aligning with how Staley wanted to blend the pass and the run game, which mirrors the Shanahan kind of McVay offense, which is where Robinson comes from. If you're bringing in a guy who's not from that kind of pedigree, but still has a super exciting pedigree himself. He's a football guy, coaches. His coach was awesome high school coach, and so his dad was a high school coach. And bringing Zach Robinson in would sort of blend that Shanahan system in, which would be great. So just to see where we go with the other changes to the offensive coaching group as well. And And yeah, I'm pretty excited. Like, it wasn't a name that I necessarily considered because he still had a job at the time. And I didn't know, I don't pay attention to what goes on in Jera world because it's a disaster, if you ask me.
Well, it's micromanaged to within an inch of its life, I think, and that's something that that's something that I wanted to bring up as well. And you think that Kellen Moore, but was it really Kellen Moore's offense in Dallas, or was it a micromanaged offense of both Garrett and then McCarthy? And we know Jera is lovely and loyal, so was McCarthy, to counter your point, Kyle, to say, was it McCarthy actually going, yeah, we're going to keep him, or was it Jerry going, oh, we love this guy, so we're going to keep him in the building? There's all these kind of things. They're nebulous and ephemeral. We don't really know. Context is really important. Andy, I think you hit the nail on the head. What we do in the off season is going to tell us what we're doing with our roster construction. If we don't go out and get a speed wide receiver, we got to start thinking about, well, there's going to be some creativity to get these guys open because we can't rely on their physical traits as clear as what we saw last year.
We'll find out if it's scheme is the difference. If they don't go in that direction of like filling in the speed guy, maybe another back that's probably a little bit more physical and can do a little bit more for longer than Kelly and Eckler, and we can save Eckler. You can use Eckler like you used Pollard in the passing game. What are we going to do? And if they don't, then what are we relying on this guy's scheme to be the difference between him and Lombardi and Chargers' offensive success? Just look at the metrics that he succeeded in with Dallas. There's a lot to be excited about.
The only thing, Alistair, I'll throw to you.
Yeah.
Dallas did have some pretty one-dimensional looks, and we can all look to the last play of their playoff game with Ezekiel Elliott under center and going, what the fuck is going on there?
It's a Hail Mary play, whatever. So too many people have pointed out that play. Are we judging the guy's 4 years of playing call or like a no-win situation trying to get a 70-yard touchdown on a trick play? But look, it didn't look great, did it? I don't even know what that one was.
People judge you on your last play, unfortunately. That's the way it goes.
But look, I think they did it slightly better than the Colts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
So, Kyle, did you have anything else to add? Sorry, Alistair.
I was going to say, when you throw to me, you end up getting some stats, right? You get some stats. Everybody! The Chargers fans should be most excited about the fact that this guy coached the number 1 ranked red zone offense in the NFL last season at 71% efficiency. That's an area where the Chargers really struggled. And then he also coached the number 1 ranked second half offense in the NFL last season. So we're talking about 2 areas where the Chargers have been terrible. And that's the hope. That's the cause of excitement, that this guy has strengths in areas where we struggled this season.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Big time. I'm not going to regurgitate all the stats myself, but yeah, it's impressive what he's done with that Dallas offense with Dak Prescott under center. So yeah, just keep banging it home. It's exciting with Herbert and Kellen Moore, and they did ad together. It's cute as.
It is. I mean, well, let's keep moving then, Kyle, and let's sort of stop talking about the offense here, and let's start talking about the macro, I guess, look, and let's start talking about Brandon Staley. So second proposition that we've got for our listeners and for us to sort of analyze is, over his first 2 years, Staley failed to build a clear on-field identity. What say you to that?
I couldn't agree more with that, Jack. It's pretty distressing that Staley has built this concept of Justin Herbert being a gangster quarterback that's going to lead this team, which I fully agree with. Nothing that I'm trying to say is disparage Herbert. Herbert's my guy. But that he leans on that so heavily, and also leans on this defensive scheme on the other side of the ball that's made to create a roof over the defense after we've kind of established a lead on offense, in a sense. Prioritize being able to put a roof on the defense. But you look at our performance over the last 2 years, and nothing that we have done on defense has supported that statistically. Daniel Popper wrote a great article recently, and I apologize if I butcher any of these stats. I'm kind of meshing them with somebody else because Popper had a different definition of explosive plays. It was kind of weird. He was judging running plays as being explosive if they were over 20 yards, in passing if they were over 15. That might have been because he was trying to work with his number. For me, I don't really care. If the passing play is 15 or 20, it's probably a first down. So it's an explosive play in my book. But last year, or in 2021, we were 11th in explosive pass plays that were over 20 yards. So we were ranked 11th. Whereas this last year, we were the 4th highest in passes over 15 yards. We were the second highest in passes over 30 yards. And that's while we're giving up a ton of chunk plays on the ground as well.
Yeah.
So what are we gaining from sacrificing one side or the other? Like we're just performing poorly. If we were getting beat up on the ground and if we had lost the same amount of games, but we had stuck to this idea that if we lose by the running game, we're going to lose by it, but we're not going to be taken advantage of over the top, that would be an identity. What we have instead is Staley saying one thing and for us looking like an absolute disaster on defense. In terms of, some cause, maybe there's some optimism somewhere. He did create a smarter ball club in my mind this last year, specifically on special teams. We saw this idea that we don't have to outkick coverage. We can do shorter punts, get our coverage there, and that's going to net us a better net punt. I liked that. I liked our gunners that were rookies that continually showed smarts in the game. Now, is that Ficken or is that Staley? I don't know, but Staley was involved in hiring Ficken, so you got to give him some credit. You also got to wonder if that same thing I was talking about on defense being a problem, just our defense kind of being exposed, is that partially because Joe Lombardi's offense was not really capitalizing when they did do good things? So that would be I need to know more information.
Yeah.
And my suggestion moving forward is create your identity by really both. I would like to see Staley both strengthen his identity, but by taking what he's able to get with what's left over, with what I'm about to say, on defense, and just making it work as a defensive coordinator. Build that roof. If we give up yards, we give up yards. It's fine. On the ground, whatever. But build the roof. Invest heavily in offense. Let your gangster quarterback do his thing, ball out, and constantly be playing from ahead so you can drop back, put the roof on the D, and play that style of defense you've talked about playing. But
yeah, cool. I mean, I was going to jump in as well here, and I think what you're saying is correct. But I think I've sort of interpreted this question slightly differently as well, and I agree. I don't think there's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde non-complementary football going on the field. I have a feeling that Brandon is building an off-field identity. There is a locker room identity that we're not privy to, which is togetherness, is brotherhood. One of the only reasons why we're playing in the playoffs is because of our second, third, fourth, fifth string guys coming in and doing their job. So it's not clear on field just at this point in time, but it was fairly clear to us that there was a meshing of the defense in that second half. The offense, who knows? We've got Kellen Moore there. Andy, did you have anything to say about that? The identity of us? Did you sort of see one? You were very big on the cohesion at the start, and you saw it, but then it's kind of disappeared. What say you?
So, yeah, well, maybe I felt a lot more of that off-field presence that you just spoke about, Jack, and that because as the season started and went on for a while there, I was really eating my words, thinking there's not much. I'm not seeing consistency. I'm not seeing like I know you have a different game plan for every game, but like there's just no consistency, and still not. Last year you excuse the fact that Staley's defense wasn't there, the personnel wasn't there, and then we brought these guys in, and sure, injuries happened, but the start to JC Jackson's Chargers career was pretty ominous, and we're in a position now where we're locked into him, and one of our best imported cornerbacks is more likely going to be a casualty in Bryce Callahan. And we're locked into a guy who's coming off a serious injury with a howler of a start to his year. So I tend to agree with it as well, because we showed flashes of defensive cohesion, and then the last two games especially that last half of the wild card, was just back to what it was. And you're right, it's Jekyll and Hyde, and you just no consistency. You say ruggedness, and we want to stop running the ball, but we're giving up air yards and 100-yard plus games all the time. If you're a key back and you're not getting a 100-yard game against the Chargers, like there's question marks over you.
Alistair, you're a big defender of Staley as well. You know, is there an on-field identity? Can you sort of pick us up, because we've all said that there is not one? What say you?
Look, this is a nice symbolic representation of it, right? I'm holding up my glass, and I've drunk half of it, and it depends which side of the glass you want to focus on. I do think he has failed to build a clear on-field identity, and if you want to go glass half empty, this component. You know, are you a team who is super aggressive on fourth down, or are you not? Are you a team that rests your starters in the preseason, or are you a team that plays your starters in a, quote, meaningless Week 18 game? Do you, as Kyle said, do you specialize in stopping the big play, or do you not? Is this offense built around Justin Herbert's strengths and his fantastic ability to access the deep part of the field, or is it not? Those are still the unknowns. If you want to look at a glass half full, there are two things I'd say we should focus on, other than your off-field comments, Jack, which I wholeheartedly agree with. There's a strength there, and it looks like we're building a culture where the players are quite happy and like their coach. One is toughness. Staley talks about wanting to build a tough football team, and the Chargers at the moment are 13-11 in one-score games under Brandon Staley, whereas they were 4-7 under Anthony Lynn. I know everyone's going to remember the Jags game because it was the most recent, and that was a terrible, terrible blown lead. But more often than not this year, in those one-score games, the Chargers were finding ways to win even when starters were missing. And I feel like under Staley, we're building a toughness to us that was not there in previous regimes. And the other one quickly is flexibility of approach. We haven't nailed it yet, but last season, we were finding ways to win the game by running it late. Philadelphia, Washington, the Raiders. We were passing to get in front and then running to win. And then in games where we had to have a shootout, like against the Browns, we were putting up 40 points. And then on the defensive side of the ball, this year we saw the 49ers, where they're a great running team, and we had so many injuries in that game, and the team did a pretty damn good job at stopping the run for most of that game until the flood dam burst at the end. Whereas against Miami, a fantastic passing offense completely shut them out. So I think Staley wants a tough team and a flexible team, and those are two identity characteristics that we're developing. What do you reckon,
Okay,
Jack?
well, that's a really good segue, I guess, into our third prop here. And Kyle, we'll start off with you again in terms of this. We've talked about Staley's identity on-field, off-field. We're talking about flexibility. We're talking about this. You know, there's a whole other dark side of the moon to that conversation, right? It's Tom Telesco and how well Tom Telesco is building this roster. So, Kyle, you know, let's start us off here. You know, in the 22 season could perhaps suggest that Tom Telesco is getting better as a GM. What say you?
There's definitely reason to believe that, because we saw Tom do things last off season that he had never done before. We had the Mac trade. We
plug your article, mate.
What was that?
Plug your article.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, here's a shameless plug on Bolts from the Blue. We wrote an article on it. It was, I don't even remember the title of it. It was something about has Tom... Here we go. Can we expect a different Tom Telesco? So looking at the offseason in review. And yeah, I mean, between trading for Mac, staying aggressive or being aggressive with those post-draft free agents that we brought in. The thing that I kept harping on before was that I really believe, like, all those guys that we signed, Kyle Van Noy, Bryce Callahan, Fox, were all guys that we have signed at one point or another in the past to big deals to fill starting roles. But here we plugged them all in to be reserve players, which I think was a brilliant move on his part. This way he structured all of his signings in free agency positioned all of those guys that he signed to exit and enter free agency, exit the team and enter free agency again in different years to potentially maximize the compensatory formula. There's a lot of things that he did right. areas that concern me, though, is that he still seems allergic to trading. What was that? Yeah, yes, exactly. Alistair, how long do you have? As much as I want to credit him for trading for Mac, it just looks blatantly obvious that was driven by Staley, and that's something that we should praise Staley for, because Tom has been very allergic to drafting in the past, and then when he wanted to trade out of the 6th round, was it, or the 7th, into the next year's draft again, he called the Bears back up. When it came to our 1st round pick, and we drafted Zion, which everyone was excited for, but I'm a very big believer in trading back. And when asked about trading back, how did Tom respond? He said, well, the phone didn't ring. I was listening to the phone, but the phone didn't ring. I'm a real estate agent, guys. I have to put deals together all the time. Do you know how many times I just sit and look at my phone and hope a deal comes to me? That doesn't happen. No. So for Tom to do that really upset me. To go back to the Bears to trade with them, because it seems like he doesn't like making these calls to trade, just kind of blew my mind.
And that's worrisome, right? Because this is where perhaps if you're a defender of Staley, Staley's bringing the relationships. He's bringing he's actually forcing a lot of these moves. He's forcing the trades. He's actually having a big hand in roster construction. The actual tactics and actually moving down in the 1st and 2nd and perhaps getting more picks, that's still something that Telesco can't do. I was going to point out that I still think Telesco cannot hit anywhere between 2 and 5. He really struggles there. If he's got pick 1, he's awesome. He finds some detritus in the late rounds, but really those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks have got to be there this year. Andy, anything from you about like Telesco getting better or worse as a GM, or areas for improvement?
I think, look, as far as the draft goes, he's improved his drafting of offensive linemen in the last few years. So credit there, because it's been essential. And our future relies a lot on that cheap O-line to protect Herbert, because we'll get to it, but there's going to be money being thrown his way soon. He's done pretty well to structure the contracts of the free agents that he's brought in. But my concern is that because the way that it seems, and there's big concern looking into the Chargers, is that it didn't pan out this way. Did he put all his golden eggs in the 2021 season basket and leave the roost bare for 22, 23, 24, when we actually can't afford to pay all these guys or fill the other necessary holes that we need? So yes and no. I see why you can think that he's improved, but I think he gets away with a lot. And a lot of the heat comes towards Staley. But 10 years, he's just completed his 10th season as GM. And I think because he's friends with the Spanny, he's got away with a little bit more than most. And it's a pretty soft head office in that way. So, if they say that this is the last roll of the dice for Staley, it's got to be for Telesco too. There's no two ways. But I don't want to think that way. That's all I've got to add on that. I kind of sit on the fence and go, sort of, but nah, not really. I'm not convinced.
Well,
win a title, motherfucker.
Like Alistair, again, this is a sort of a good segue. You can sort of talk about Tom Telesco a little bit in this next prop as well, because TT is very, very much against the whole idea that rookie contract quarterbacks windows is when you got to win the Super Bowl. So let's have a little bit of a discussion here. You can lead this discussion. This proposition number 4, the Chargers Super Bowl window is restricted to Justin Herbert's rookie contract. What say you to that prop?
I've got a strong view that it's not. And the last 8 Super Bowl winners, only 2 have been on rookie deals. So you can definitely do it. The 2 rookies were Mahomes in 2019. And when the Eagles won in 2017, even though Foles was the quarterback, Wentz was on his rookie deal. So they could spend all their money on other parts of the ball. Now, those 6 other Super Bowl wins, 4 of them were Tom Brady. And maybe just Tom Brady's the outlier who's so good he can break this rule. But Stafford won last season. He was not on a rookie deal. I think it's more important to pair your head coach with your elite quarterback and find excellence in those 2 areas. Let them grow together. And then, yes, no doubt it's easier in the rookie window. It would be a real shame if with a quarterback like Herbert, who's played at the levels that he has as a rookie, you don't maximize that. like teams like like the Seahawks with Wilson did. We do have a brilliant opportunity right now. So it's not to try and discount how important it is, but we shouldn't put all our eggs in this year's basket. Like Andy said, I'd like our financial decisions to be kind of smart over the mid and long term, rather than thinking we must win now because then we have to pay Herbert and we won't be able to do it. Because you can structure your long-term deal like the Chiefs have with Mahomes in a way where Herbert's cap hits aren't so bad for the first couple of years. They're my initial thoughts on it. What do you think, Kyle?
How cheap does Mahomes' deal look right now? Just knowing that it's stretched out over another 7 years and that they can restructure it at any given time.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, I know you're a capologist, so talk to us about how that maybe influences this discussion, because there have been some changes to the cap, and that's relevant, right? Because you have these huge increasing quarterback deals with huge amounts of guarantees. How does the kind of cap play into that discussion?
Well, I think really interesting things have happened in the last couple of years. You have the APYs, the average per years, haven't really exploded yet. From Patrick's 45, like we've kind of got up to that 50 place. It has won a history of success and is going to come and change your organization. But those have normally been on shorter deals. Mahomes' contract is kind of a unicorn because he stretched it over 10 years. And if you look at it, it actually plays out the exact way the Spanos family would want to structure a deal. He took very minimal guaranteed money for somebody as good as he is. You know, it was something like 140 million fully guaranteed at the time of signing, which over 10 years is very small for a quarterback. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson got, what was it, 240 million guaranteed over 4 or 5 years. So that's pretty crazy. How they structure this for Herbert is going to be very interesting, because if the pressure of Deshaun Watson's guaranteed money has influence on what Herbert signs for, but they want to maintain the cap flexibility that Patrick Mahomes has enabled the Chiefs to have and try to lock him into a 10-year deal, what does that guaranteed number look like? And that guaranteed number could very potentially be single-handedly the largest expense the Spanos ownership has ever spent on anything other than the whole lump sum of a payroll for the team.
And
so
themselves.
And themselves,
And
yeah,
what?
and their property, and themselves and their property.
Oh, man!
And their dinners and that kind of stuff.
And
That's
Dean's
cold-blooded.
hairpiece, the toupee.
But so there's going to be pushback on that in the negotiations to some degree. But if they give him what he really wants, I don't know what that is. I don't think any really do. But if they're able to structure it in a way that definitely benefits Herbert and gives him that long-term security, it somehow doesn't force them to put $300 million or $250 million into an escrow account the day they sign the contract, that's going to have an impact on it. The biggest thing, though, that I'm very interested in terms of a suggestion, is something that Alistair pointed out to me that when we were having beers in SoFi, and it blew my mind because I hadn't thought of it yet, and I don't even know if Alistair knows what I'm about to say yet.
No idea.
But he suggested if we move on from Tom Telesco, that Daniel Jeremiah would be a great replacement.
Oh, he's been banging that drum for ages. Rightfully
he's
so,
been
I think.
banging that.
I've been watching your guys' show. I don't know how I've missed that. Sometimes I'm listening.
No, we've
when I'm
never
playing
said it
video
on
games
Thunder
too.
Down
I
Under.
don't think we've ever said it on air.
No, I don't think we've said it on Thunder, but on all our
good
chats
chat.
I have. So
It just seems so obvious.
yeah.
I don't make the jump from media to GMs and stuff like that as much as I should, because we've seen it. You're right, but I love his
Mike Mayock did do a
mindset,
great
his
job
philosophy.
Yeah.
See ya.
But he seems like the anti-Tom Telesco, which is what we're going to need, because Tom's going to need to. The long-winded answer to this question in my mind is yes, we can keep the window open, but Tom needs to completely change the direction in how he manages. We're going to need to do trades. We're going to need to rock the compensatory formula. We saw what he did with a franchise quarterback in the past. Herbert, I think, has some more tools, but Tom never really built that team to succeed with Rivers. He didn't.
No.
The one time he gave him a shot was bringing in a stud center in Mike Pouncey, but that didn't even last that long, and it took him a while to get there. So I don't have a lot of faith that post rookie contract Tom's going to figure that out.
Well, the problem is
shows us now.
Tom is essentially the Joe Lombardi of general managers. Just look at the in-seat. Like, he has never traded down once, ever, in his whole 10-year career. And in terms of in-season trades, just look at this season, right? The Eagles went out and signed Ndamukong Suh, Robert Quinn, Linval Joseph. The Chiefs signed Kadarius Toney. San Fran they traded for Christian McCaffrey. Baltimore, Roquan Smith. Buffalo, Naheem Hines and Dean Marlowe. Where was the, I don't know, just the urge to do something when we had injuries at major positions and we are in a window? Don't get me wrong, this season was a missed opportunity. When you lose in the wildcard game up 27 points, that is a Super Bowl window right there. If we had one more star, one more guy we traded for in the middle of the season, we've just missed, year's done now, have to start again. Next year, he's got to look at what these other smarter GMs are doing, your Howie Rosemans of the world, and understand that you can be more flexible on draft day and in the middle of the season.
All right. So I think let's wrap this segment up with one more prop, and it kind of ties in beautifully to what we've been talking about. For what I'll say in terms of the Super Bowl window being restricted, it all comes down to what does Herbert want. Herbert might not need to take a big contract because he's that kind of guy. What's the relationship between him, his agent, and the Spanai? Who knows? He's a good guy. He's not arrogant, I hope, but will he want a market resetting amount of money?
I love this. This is Americans versus Australians, because in Australian sport, a lot of players take, quote, team-friendly deals and don't maximise their earnings at all. Whereas a lot of Americans, they're just like, oh yeah, he's going to break the record for most guarantees and biggest contracts, and of course he will. That's his right. That's what he should do. And Aussies are like, what? Don't do that. It's very interesting.
How do teams treat their players?
How do teams treat their players?
Yeah, do you see a lot of loyalty from the teams?
That's right. So it's different because all contracts are fully guaranteed in the NFL. In the AFL. In the AFL. In Australia, every contract's fully guaranteed. So teams don't have this ability to promise the world and then send a player packing midway through the deal. So it's a very important difference, and you're right to point it out.
It's also from sort of like an identity and philosophical standpoint to be a one club player in Australia says a lot about loyalty and stick-to-itiveness. Even though you might play 350 games and do all this for your club, and you might never ever make the finals, you might be cellar dwellers, you'll be revered as a strong, one club player. Good on you, didn't chase the money. So it's fascinating. Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to our last prop, and this goes into the draft. This goes into Telesco. This goes into Super Bowl window. I don't think rookie windows are tied to rookie contracts, but for other positions, definitely. And because, Kyle, your wife loves Drew Tranquil so much, she'd probably leave you for him in a heartbeat. Sorry, I should say that's a bit rough.
There's no probably about it.
Only if she doesn't break up. Only if she doesn't break up the marriage. Okay, she'll just plug in as the third. She loves their marriage.
All right, there'll be nude yoga between the three of you. That'd be interesting to watch. So, Andy, I'll throw to this last one for you, and this goes sort of bring us back to full circle to our roster, what our defense looks like, and Staley. The prop is Staley's hole in his defense is front and center. The linebacker role is actually more important than we first believed. We'll try and get through this quickly so we can get on to our Menu-De-Jour, but do you want to start us off with this one?
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty interesting the way that from the outside, the sort of believed philosophy of Staley's linebacker has sort of developed. It all sort of started when the discussion was whether we re-signed Kaiser White or not in last year's free agency. That was made pretty clear that we weren't going to do that. And look at him now. He's playing in a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Drew Tranquil, free agent. Wore the green dot a lot. He led the team for total defensive snaps, tackles. I think he had 14% of the team's total tackles. He also had 16% of the team's total missed tackles. And as a result, PFF weren't too flash on him. But look, he's got that leadership in the play call, and it'd be nice to have him back. We'll see what happens. Kenneth Murray, I hate to do damn weather chat, but he's as inconsistent as Melbourne weather, as we experience yet another bloody rainy day in summer. Junk! Troy Reeder's a free agent. Then you've got Amen Ogbongamiga and Nick Neiman. So that rounds up our 5 total linebackers. And it's a concern because we're not seeing what we'd like to have seen out of Kenneth Murray. He's has flashes in coverage. He has flashes in pass rush. He has flashes in run defense. But for the most part, especially in the latter, he's just continuously making bad reads on the quarterback, getting sucked into blocks, looks totally lost if he's in the middle of the field. So I think it is an underrated problem, just to have a little bit of leadership and experience vetted into that position. I don't want to go into the Thomas Davis years, but look, I don't see, if you're not going to bring back Drew Tranquil, then you need to bring in a cheap veteran free agent in that room. I think that's where I sit. Al, how do you feel about the value of the linebacker position in this defense?
Yeah. I still think it's the least important line of the defense, and I think there is something to be said for the fact that the Chargers were ranked 27th in the NFL for most yards allowed before contact. So I still think primarily it's a defensive line problem. And if you go through PFF's grading on it from a run defense perspective, our highest ranked defensive lineman, interior D lineman, was David Mower, ranked 94 out of 199. Everyone else was lower than that, and some of them much lower, like SJD.
But how many snaps is Mower playing? That's a bit of a misnomer.
But that begs the point that...
Yeah.
No. I mean, the point I'm making is there's not a single player in our interior defensive line who ranks per PFF in the top half of the league at stopping the run. So even though our linebackers might be struggling, they don't have the linemen in front of them who are beating double teams or holding their gap and a half responsibilities such that the linebackers can be kept clean and make plays. And what I will say people are missing is that we have one of the best pass coverage duos per PFF at the linebacker spot in the league. According to them, Tranquil's ranked 18th out of 168 graded linebackers, and Kenny Murray's ranked 35th. So we have 2 linebackers in the top 15 or 20% of coverage linebackers. They're doing a pretty good job. So I think it's really the defensive line that needs to lift more than the linebackers. Kyle, I know this is dear to your heart. I'll throw to you about Tranquil specifically. Do you think he's very important to this team moving forward? Can the Chargers afford to let him go?
I think he's everything that everyone loved about White last year, but with this added versatility that White doesn't have. We saw that. We saw his ability to get to the quarterback. I forget the numbers from White. I don't know. Did he have 1 sack or no sacks with us? I don't think he had any. And Drew had 5. He had a lot more hurries. He had more passes defensed. He had more interceptions. So he's more of a chess piece. And White occasionally, and this is a little disingenuous of me because I'm not giving White the same credit for playing as long, or Drew the same credit for, I'm not giving White the same credit, that's correct, for playing alongside Drew and supporting him. But, Drew only played alongside Murray this year. White and Drew played alongside each other the year before, and White had the kind of year he had. This year, Drew didn't have the same kind of support. Murray's kind of all over the place, like we've talked about. And Tranquil still did great. What I'd like to see is, that other linebacker spot be what we hoped and wished Murray would be. I think we've had for 2 years one of the 2 linebackers we've needed. Somebody that's more of a pass coverage guy. Somebody that can, make the tackle. The missed tackles was a concern, but Drew, as a whole has done pretty well with, getting to the quarterback, stopping the run, yada, yada. I want to see us with a thumper. Just one thumper. It doesn't have to be super fast, but a guy that doesn't do what you see Murray do with these missed steps, taking the wrong angles. It doesn't matter if you're fast. If you don't follow your GPS. If you go in the wrong direction, you're going to end up in the wrong town. And that's what we see happen to Murray all the time. Interesting thing, building off your point, Alistair, you mentioned, and I forget what the exact stat was, but the lack of ability to tackle behind the line. Was that correct?
27th in first contact for the running back. They're 27th in terms of rush yards allowed before contact.
So there's a very strange and interesting stat from when Staley was kicking butt with the Rams. And it was something similar. I don't remember if it was first contact or just tackles for a loss, but Staley's defense was actually rated very low for stops behind the line or contact behind the line. But with this gap and a half style of play, they were very good at limiting runs to like 1 or 2 yards. Like they weren't penetrating, which is the essence of the gap and a half style, but they were really doing a good job of cutting off the running back, forcing him to slow down, try to find another hole, and then containing him, wrapping him up, tackling him, which is something that we have not been able to do at all. So what is that going to take to fix is a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're going to do, but we just lie in wait and see if it's yet another sacrificial kind of spot, and we are more likely to let Drew Tranquil go or not re-sign him than get rid of Kenneth Murray, because, that was the last trade-up folly by Telesco, and he's not going to let that just die in the dirt. So he'll take it to his grave. So we'll see how that goes. Jack, have you got anything to add on in the linebacker spot? Or
I think there was a definite change when the CB started to play more press man coverage on the outside, and the linebackers weren't asked to do as much zone into man and sort of tracking wide receivers and tight ends as they go through the middle of the field. I think maybe that's why we might have seen an improve on the coverage, because it was a little more clear that what Tranquil and Murray had to do. But I do disagree with Alistair's prop to say that's the least important position. I think if we re-sign Tranquil, that's a sign of Staley reflecting and actually going, no, actually this is quite important, because if we look at the McDaniel and the Shanahan schemes now, these are all crosses and slants. They're all short completions to a lot of yak. So that middle of the field is going to become, I think, more and more important in the AFC division with the quarterbacks that we've got to play every year. And Kelsey fucking kills us every freaking year at the tight end spot. Derwin on him, whoever. So we've got to figure out this middle of the field issue. I think cornerbacks, our cornerback room is looking half decent. We've got to figure out what to do with Derwin on the top, where he plays. But this is even though it might be the least important, I think this is one of the most important signings, and depending on what we do for 2023. So that's all I've got to say about that one.
Hey Jack, I agree with you on that. Can I ask you a question and let you build on that a little bit?
Sure.
We saw Derwin get the green dot removed, not as a punishment on him, but to free him up to be a better player and to pass that on to somebody else. It went to Tranquil. So if Staley has shown that he'd prefer Derwin to not have the green dot, if we move on from Tranquil, who gets the green dot?
That is a fantastic question. I have not said whether we're better. I think I posed, when Andy and I were doing shows together, I posed the question to him that, are we actually a better defense when Derwin doesn't play? And I'm not saying that we are, nor am I saying that
it makes you think.
Derwin should play. But it does make you think. And you got to think, well, why does someone get the green dot taken off of them? And you got to think about that. Does Derwin just play at a speed and processes at a speed that is beyond everyone else on the field, and you don't want him to have that responsibility to communicate what he's thinking or seeing, and you just want to see him play with instinct, and you give it to a guy who's perhaps, when I say slower, I'll use it for lack of a better term, but can communicate more effectively with everyone around him, and perhaps plays a position that's not as impactful as a strong safety. Because if Derwin James is the green dot, everyone's going off of him, and he decides to blitz, for example, if he decides to run blitz, ad lib, everyone's going, well, what the fuck are we actually doing here? Because no one's telling me what to do. So I don't know who gets the green dot. I mean, Kenneth Murray played with it. Am I wrong to say in some games 2 seasons ago? I think he had it on him.
Even under
I'm not
Lynn
sure.
in the first year, maybe for a bit.
Kenny Murray.
Yeah. So
Doesn't even know where he is, let alone where everyone else is supposed to be. Fucking hell.
But it's a fascinating question where the green dot goes, because I have a feeling that Staley's tried to make do in this Swiss Army knife. My opinion is it didn't work particularly well, even though he's a Pro Bowl cornerback. So I don't know where the green dot goes. I don't know. No idea. Let's sign Tranquil for Chargers and Zena's sake.
Well, on that, we're
sign
probably for Zena's sake. Got to finish that. Got to finish that bottle. Can't be Nas Adderley either, because he's not going to be around.
No.
What's on the menu, brother?
What's on the menu? Well, I don't know. Let's. This voice is fairly familiar to all of us.
Romantic dinner. More like a fucked up dinner. If your fucking cooking was as good as your acting, you'd be talented, you dick. Can we work together as a team?
Yes, chef.
The garlic be ready, Jonathan? Yes, chef, it'll be ready. If it's not, you can fuck off.
So, to the listeners, all right, we've done a lot of analysis. If you're listening at 51 minutes, maybe take a bit of a break, go and have a coffee, go and have a beer or something. Now we're going to get into a bit of fun for a good sort of 20 minutes, half an hour. This segment is the Chargers Menu-De-Jour, so menu of the day. This alludes back to when Jack, sorry, I'm talking to myself in the third person, but Alistair, Andy, and I all worked in the same restaurant.
Reading your notes, mate?
Together as teenagers. What we've done is we've put together a menu of 7 courses, and it's a bit of creative fun. We're just going to shoot the breeze and shoot the shit here, get ready to laugh. And our first course is our amuse-bouche. I'll start us off. If you don't know what an amuse-bouche is, it's otherwise known as an amuse-gueule, is a French term for mouth amuser. So I'm giving my mouth amuser, now I say this, it doesn't sound right. I'm giving my mouth amuser to Ryan Fiken or fucking Fiken, because he's whet my appetite for what is to come with some of our fringe players. He clearly is a coach who gets players to buy into his team, so his special team, and some of the performances and development from the rookies and UDFAs we've seen has been fantastic. So, little bit of tasty fucking Fiken. Andy, what's your amuse-bouche?
My amuse-bouche tonight sees 2 bite-sized O-line hors d'oeuvres, if you will, prepared a la Telesco. With the 2021 first-round pick netting a stud left tackle in Rashawn Slater, Chef Tommy is showing off his honed drafting skills, serving up Zion Johnson and Jamari Salyer to start off our delightful season.
Mwah. Lovely.
Magnifique. So, Martha Amuse-Bouche is a teaser for what's to come, right? And what's to come this off-season. And we've been talking about Drew Tranquil. He's my amuse-bouche. An amuse-bouche, what it lacks in size, it makes up for in flavor, big time. And I definitely serve Tranquil to Kyle and his wife, Zana, who wants to eat him right up. So, but warning.
Were you milking yourself there? Warning.
The amuse-bouche, they're also seasonal and can change quite frequently depending on produce available at the time. And last season, as we saw, the Chargers served up Kaiser White for 1 season only, and he disappeared. So let's hope Tranquil is a mainstay on the menu for many years to come. On to you, Carl.
I'm 95% sure you just milked yourself and then pronounced it amuse-de-bush. So I'm moving on. So I took this a little differently, guys. I thought we were all making our own menu, going start to finish. So I didn't create a menu. I went to a Chargers potluck. And the first food item that went through the door at the start of the season, you could say, was Tom Telesco came in with this New Orleans jambalaya. Okay? And as he came in through the door, he said it was a new recipe that he had never cooked before, and he was really excited for it. Was sure it was going to taste delicious. He heard Staley loved jambalaya. That's why he decided to cook it and get a little exotic. It was delicious, but it did need a little more Cajun seasoning, and it really, really didn't have enough meat. Halfway through the dinner, we ended up being totally without meat and just a soupy rice at the bottom. So it was kind of disappointing. Lombardi actually commented that he could have used a little more sausages and spice. Telesco said, well, we'll see if he gets invited next year. So there you go. To you, Jack.
All right. Well, we've had our amused bush of Alistair milking his nipples, which was a fantastic start to the meal.
I've got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Let's go to our starter. Let's start for our appetizer. Obviously, appetizer kickstarts the appetite. And this is a little bit controversial here, but I'm giving this appetizer to Justin Herbert's first 3 seasons. I truly believe that we have not seen the main course from this man yet. He's got untapped potential. He's had chefs who've not only struggled to boil water, couldn't crack an egg to save their lives, and think a piece of toast is a Michelin star dish. And constantly were cutting off their fingers due to their inability to wield the powerful weapon that Justin Herbert is. So I think that even though he leads all rookies ever in passing yards or blah, 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 all these accolades, I would like a fully cooked Herbert because I'm sick of seeing an appetizer Herbert. Andy, what's your appetizer course?
Nice, man. I like it. Well, just to flip from where you started on your amuse-bouche, for starter, we have a smaller yet crucial part of the whole meal tonight. The special teams broth commences with the hiring of Ryan Ficken, like the fresh catch of luxurious blue swimmer crabs across the northern coast of Australia, a bevy of fresh local produce culminating in booming hang time on punts, excellent rookie gunner play, and near-perfect field goal success from the rookie Dicker the Kicker. The bowl is hot, baby.
Yum, give me some of that.
What was that voice? That's sultry.
It's my bedroom voice.
So I'm sitting at the table. I've had my Drew Tranquil for my amuse-bouche, and now in the waiter wheels in a television, and the starter for me is just all-in teaser trailer for season 2023, because I feel like I need that already. And I wanted to start with, the crushing loss to the Jags, and then shoots to Staley's speech with the team the following day, and media. Camera pans to Telesco with his smug face, refusing to answer simple questions about whether he deserves to keep his job. And then the music changes, and suddenly it shows Kellen Moore being hired and Sean Payton being hired by Denver, even though he was spent all season gunning for Staley's job, building up this revenge narrative. And that's my starter. I'll be ready for the next course after watching All In season trailer for 2023.
Ooh, I like that. I like it.
Do they go with the same branding?
Yeah. What have you got, Cole? Or have you done your menu already, or have you got something else?
Yeah. No, we got something else.
Go.
It's not quite a typical starter. It's actually a drink. It's Khalil Mack bringing a nice sangria to the potluck.
What's in it?
It was so delicious. First, when he walked in with it, he declared that it was for the defense only. But it was so popular and everyone loved it so much that the offense insisted that he provided enough for them as well. By the end of the potluck, everybody was drinking a Mac Daddy's Kool-Aid. So.
Ooh, I like that. Big Mac Daddy's Kool-Aid. Better than milked nipples, let's call it that. Poisson du jour. This is the fish course. Now we have fish before we have the meat. I don't know what accent that was. I apologize to everyone. Where I'm starting off is, unfortunately, fish stinks before it is cooked, and it's pretty difficult to cook well. It is an amazing dish when it's prepared properly, but people are sometimes, I think, too scared to order it or cook it because of the difficulty of over or undercooking it. It's a very temperamental thing. And I believe this is the Chargers organization to a T, and is also representative of Brandon's first 2 years at the helm. He took a hard task of this cooking of the fish. First year, the fish course was looking great. It was cooking with gas. But in the end, those hot decisions, those fourth down choices led to an overcooked piece of rubbery shit that Carr shoved down my throat. Ugh. The second time around, well, we did make the playoffs, but the whole season felt a little bit underdone for numerous reasons. Is it sashimi? Nah, it's a fucking Easter Island waiter pushing raw fish down my throat with his fist. That was a disappointing course. Fuck fish. What say you, Andy?
Who likes it anyway?
This one's a bit on the nose. For tonight's fish course, we serving up dolphin. Cooked to perfection on defense, nice. Presented atop a seasonal lush green Californian turf salad. This dish includes nearly 40 minutes of offense and over 350 air yards. For an extra fee per head tonight, we'll organise Justin Herbert wearing a respirator saying, Tua, I am your daddy. while you eat.
Awesome.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Hey, look, I'm not generally a huge fan of fish, but one of the most pleasing things to me is raw fish. And in LA, Kyle, we got a voucher to a nice Japanese restaurant, Nobu, and they came out and they served otoro, which is the fatty part of a tuna's belly. And my otoro is Otito Bonya and Braden Fahoko, this next wave of fat young defensive tackles. And we've seen with Philly this season how important that is. So I like it. I like it a lot. A bit of Otoro, the fat part of the tuna belly. We need to keep replenishing the interior defensive line, and we took some good steps in season 2022.
Nice.
Beautiful. So for the potluck, Joey Bosa brought some, I don't know if you guys know this, but there is actually a fish called zebra fish, which can be skinned and eaten as a kind of like a sashimi type meal. Joey went all out and bought a zebra fish sushimi tray for about $55,000. Served it up to everybody and then complained the whole time that they were there. So that was Joey's.
Is that the total amount of the fines that he copped in the wildcard weekend?
It's right around there, yeah.
Yeah, it's right around there.
Crush that.
That's some expensive fish.
That's
Yeah,
good,
we haven't
isn't
talked
it?
about his blow up at the Philly fan, but we might leave that to later on. We might leave that. We've obviously got the main course here. We've got the meat. This is some kind of meat now. I have gone with the oven roasted quail. I'm going to stop doing accents. Oven roasted quail with the Tobo apricots with the smoky chipotle sauce. And why are we going with that Mexican style? I think we all know where this is going. This is about Michael Vato Davis. You know, to me, I don't think there was any prime rib on the menu.
So what the fuck was that accent at the start?
I have no idea. I was trying to go Mexican, but I should not do that. I apologize if I've offended anyone. But as I said, there's no prime rib on the menu. All the big names, you alluded to it in your sangria, Kyle, but Mac, Bosa, Derwin, Keenan, Mike, Jackson, these are all prime bits of Wagyu beef. I just don't think they've had a good pasture season because they were all fairly underwhelming. It just wasn't up to scratch. But the long and lithe Vato, like a quail, helped lock it down the secondary, proved he's a top 15, maybe even top 10 CB in the league, and fought hard and was kind of the hero of this team. So he's not a prime rib, but he sure is a tasty main dish. So well done, Vato. You're my MVP for this year, mate.
Well said.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm hot on the Vato train. Main course, what we came here to see, a season back end of nasty frugal defense. Kyle Van Noy prime rib fresh off the grill, sacking all appetites in sight. Top recognition for shutting down mediocre offenses and launching a 6-6 shithouse flounder from the fish course into a 4-score Wagyu streak with playoff-bound roast potatoes and a Mac Attack bean cassoulet.
Oh, fantastic.
Woo.
Lovely. So this main meat course is actually going to ruin the meal. Because it was that kind of season for the Chargers. Out comes the chef himself, not the waiter. The chef comes out with a stainless steel cloche and he drops it in front of you and he reveals what's underneath. And I'm looking at it and it looks like it's some kind of, I don't know, meaty thing, dark colored, and I start to eat it. I say, what's that? Is that rabbit? Is that deer? It's actually quite sinewy. It's served cold. And I look next to the cloche and there's just a small bowl of fava beans. And I say, what was that liver? And he says, yes. In fact, that was Joe Lombardi and Shane Day. And I look at my glass and I realize I've just eaten them with a nice Chianti.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Bit of cannibalism in this menu. I like it. Interesting.
The suckling noises is on brand for Alistair right now. It's a big suckling episode for him.
Yeah, very much so.
Real extra date.
Yeah, so two meat dishes got brought to the potluck. First, Justin Herbert. Believe it or not, Justin Herbert brought in, he deviated from brisket and brought in ribs that looked delicious. But as he was walking in with Zion, this big cat came and actually scratched him, made him drop his ribs on the carpet. It was terrible. So we had to actually pick them up, and they were totally toast. Herbert's ribs were done, and to clean them up for everybody, he had to wash them under the sink, so the ribs lost all their sauce. So it was really tragic.
Oh, man.
The other meat item was, oh no, actually, I covered that with Joey. We're good. Back
There
to
we
you,
go.
Jack.
All right. Cold, disgusting sauces.
Oh, no.
Ribs.
I'm sorry, Jack. I do have one. I do have another one. It was Derwin's. Okay. Derwin brought an aged tomahawk steak that he had slammed and tendered repeatedly. The tragic thing was when Derwin walked in with it, he had a couple bandages on his arms. It was clear that while beating up this tomahawk steak, he had been burned a couple times. Sorry. I know, that hurt writing. That hurt.
Yeah, that hurt. That did hurt. All right. The dessert course. Personally, I'm not a dessert person, and I'm going to completely for me. I'm moving it straight on. I'd much rather stick to savoury and cheese dishes. So, with this mindset, this dessert course is an a la Lombardy. It's a completely meh. There's only so much you can do with ice cream, pudding, maybe a tart. Fucking spare me. Like, just get rid of it. Personally, this is my personal opinion. You can disagree with me. But if I don't have to see another inside zone run on 2nd and 13 that goes for 1 yard, and then we do a 4 wide receiver set, all running stick curl routes short of the first down marker, I'll be happy. That's it. I don't want any more of that. Get rid of it. Lombardi, apparently you've been eaten already in a cannibal way, so you're gone. Dessert is a miss for me. See you, Lombardi. Andy, what say you?
Not eating at your restaurant, Jack, but you did justice on a Lombardi-related dessert because I binned mine and went with a different special because there's nothing sweeter than the return of some classics. A little slice of Mike Will pie, the Keenan brulee, both veterans making it so clear how important they are and the value of their contribution to this offense. A nice compliment to the defense toward the back end as well, with a little bit of short mac real quick.
That's a very much an inside joke, that one. But yeah, short mac.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
My dessert course is called Stroopwafel, and it was invented in the 18th century in the city of Gouda. So we're talking about the Netherlands. I did a semester of exchange in the Netherlands back at university, and these delicious Dutch cookies consist of very thin layers of syrup, sugar, butter, and cinnamon that's sandwiched between 2 thin wafers. And my equivalent, they're magnificent, mate.
I love that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Justin Herbert. You've got to give homage to our leader, the guy who played through a torn labrum and fractured cartilage. We found out the torn labrum only recently, right? And I liked this because, you know, the Dutch have their long blonde hair, just like Justin Herbert. And the thing about Stroopwafel is every time you enjoyed it, you'd be like, this is fucking awesome. And then you'd forget about it for maybe a few months. And then you'd eat it again. You're like, I just never get sick of this shit. And you don't properly appreciate it. And I feel like that is Justin Herbert. He has a game where he has, you know, a touchdown and 300 yards. We've become so accustomed to his excellence, we barely appreciate him anymore. So that is the Stroopwafel, and that is Justin Herbert for dessert.
Well said, man. Well said.
Awesome. Well, to the Chargers potluck, Asante Samuel actually brought so many delicious apple turnovers that everybody, it was delicious. Everyone really enjoyed them. But the problem was they enjoyed them so much, and he brought so many to the party that everyone got a food coma and had to leave, early.
Oh, man, that actually makes me laugh, but actually makes me cry at the same time when you're saying that. Oh, God.
It did
all right. All right, listeners. Last the cheese card is being pushed out. Stinky, hard, soft, creamy, gooey, oozing, sharp, tangy, goaty. You'd think I'm describing the state of my pants after watching a Chargers game. But in fact, I'm talking about cheese.
Is this Jeopardy and we're playing What is Owl's Milk?
Oh, man.
Hang on.
Anyway. Sorry, this is fantastic. Like the Chargers, cheese is one of my favourite things to enjoy in life. So the final course goes to the Chargers as a whole. I do truly, truly love this team. But man, just like all sorts of cheese available to choose from, this team is a roller coaster ride of emotions every freaking year. I love cheese. I love the Chargers. My menu is complete. I'm a nuffy and I love it. Andy, what's your cheese cart or cheese course saying?
I love lamb.
You ate a whole wheel of cheese. I'm not even mad. To finish off for me, cheese and crackers tonight. A sour teal Jaguar milk Stilton 27 vintage, served with bear crackers. A choice of ref abuse or double crunch helmet smash. It was a really sad way to end.
Yeah, nice, man. We've gone the exact same cheese. I went with Époisse de Bourgogne, which is the French cheese from Burgundy. Usually gets top marks for being the smelliest cheese in the world. Aged for 6 weeks in brine and brandy, it is so pungent that it's banned on French public transport. So I've gone the smelly one to finish because we had a smelly finish to this season. It befits the 27-point blown lead to the Jags. So Époisse de Bourgogne, just to leave that awful smell and wanting to fix it up in season 2023.
Yeah, well, like that cheese is banned in public in France, Joey Bosa should be banned from talking to strangers in public. So,
yes. Well said, Andy. Yeah, well said.
Got him! You broke, bitch! Come on, mate.
Why don't you go buy tickets to that game that, oh my God, stop. Just stop. Just, jeez. I, again, deviated from cheese, went with the potluck. So to wrap up the potluck, it was important to point out that of all the menu items that everyone brought, Staley actually just brought leftovers from another potluck, and they ended up being better than anything anyone else brought to the potluck.
Well, okay. All right.
I.e. Fox, Callahan, Mac, and all those guys is what we were alluding to there.
Yeah. I like that. Good finish. Sort of a very interesting finish to all of our meals, but I think if you're still with us, listeners, you're doing a fantastic, fantastic job. And I thank you. But this is good catharsis for us as podcasters.
Absolutely.
We do a lot of
podcasters and fans
in-season
of this
stuff.
goddamn team. We
do a lot of in-season stuff.
Need to get a little bit loose and a bit silly and have a bit of fun. And hopefully you can just kick back with a frothy yourself and enjoy it. Take it for what it is.
Exactly.
Could have been worse. It could have been better.
Exactly. This one's for us, guys.
Just eat your damn beans, man.
All right, we ready to go? Let's go. If you don't know what that sound was, you've been living under a rock for the last 24 months. That is obviously the very famous Squid Game red light, green light game where it's like, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? If you're caught moving when the doll turns around, you get shot in the head. That's not what's happening now, even though we've had some cannibalism and weird things and milk going on here. No, we're going to move away from that now. What's going to happen? I've got a list of about 30 or 40 props in front of me. We're going to go round table style. The guys are going to have 10 seconds per prop to either choose green light, which is yes, I agree with that, or red light, no, I disagree with that. And we're going to go around as fast as we can to see if we can get the show in and under 1 hour 30. So first, red light, green light, I'm going to throw to Kyle. Sean Payton will win the Battle of Wills against Russell Wilson and make Denver a playoff team in 2024.
Or 2024.
I would say 2024, I'd still say red light.
Red light. Alistair, the Chargers missed out by not hiring Zach Robinson as their offensive coordinator. Red light, green light.
Yellow light. I reckon he'd be awesome. But yeah, I'll change this next year depending on results. Yellow light.
Okay. Andy, drafting a speed wideout and a strong running back will be priorities in this draft. Red light, green light.
Gonna green light that. Yep.
Cool.
I believe it, and I think it'll be the case.
Okay, one for me. Life would be better for all things Chargers if Jeff Bezos bought the team instead of the Commanders. I don't know. I actually think Jeff Bezos is actually probably a worse human being than the Spanai. So I'm going to say red light on that one. Kyle.
With defamation suit incoming. Moving on. Let's go.
No longer on Amazon podcasts. With the new OC. With the new OC, the Chargers will only carry 2 QBs in 2022. Red light, green light.
Hopeful green light.
Hopeful green light.
Easton Stick's a free agent as well.
Is Chase under contract, Carl?
Is who?
Not sure. Chase Daniel?
Chase Daniel.
No, 1 year.
Wow, okay.
He was 1 year vet minimum, I believe. There's rumors that Cooper Rush might come over, but he played well enough to get a better contract than the minimum.
I'd like that.
So I don't agree with those rumors, but
that would be cool.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we can get him for the minimum. It'd be great, but we just can't afford to spend.
We can't afford to. This year we cannot simply afford to waste a spot on Easton Stick. Let him go.
No.
He'll be selling insurance in like 4 months' time.
I kind of feel that Kellen Moore is going to replace Chase Daniel anyway as that mentor kind of colleague for Herbert.
Good call.
Yeah.
I'll greenlight that shit, Jack.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Alistair, JC Jackson, your man, will have over 6.5 INTs in 2022. Red light, green light.
No, red light. I'll be happy if he sees the field. 6.5 interceptions, far out. This is Gaga land. Red light.
Red light. Okay. Andy, this is a referee question. All NFL referees should be employed on a full-time basis.
That's a good one. I actually stole this from an excerpt from the Pat McAfee show, which I enjoy watching. And it's good chat because a lot of those like secondary. Oh, sorry, I won't get into it. Green light. Green light.
Green light. Okay.
I was interested in what you were going to say. Go on.
Look, essentially, a bunch of the non-head referees are employed on a part-time basis, so they're less like the way that Pat explained it is they're less involved in the actual NFL, and they might be more prone to like a bit of outside noise. So when they're missing like Devontae's 4th down catch and they're not calling all those holding penalties on the Chiefs O-line. I'm just using a couple of like title game examples. I don't know, they're not seeing stuff that they should, and it's serious stuff because there's so much noise coming from refs miss this shit, refs miss that, and it just tarnishes the result of these important games. So
I agree.
The NFL has the money to do it, and they should do it. Just employ these guys and make sure that we're all on the same level and we get it done.
Did you watch Pat this week, Andy? Because he had Gene, I forget his full name, Gene Sarator, however you say his name.
Yeah. Right. No, actually, I haven't. I was thrashed at work, so I didn't get too much screen time this weekend. But this week,
look that
what did Gene have to say? Because
he was very adamant that they lock the refs in, and each week for every call that's a big deal, they grill them on it and downgrade them, upgrade them, and whatnot. And if you look up their
how is
salaries,
Shep calling the Super Bowl then? How is Shep calling the Super Bowl? He sucks. Throws the most flags in the league. It's going to be an absolute laundry.
I don't get it either, Andy. He was so, and he's removed from it now. He's hired by a studio or network. He's not hired by the NFL, but he was very adamant of saying, like, you guys got to understand, there's all of this stuff that does happen that is trying to keep that under control. And I'm fully on your side with this. I'm like, we've got to figure out how to pay them enough to make them at least enough of them to not be tempted with these studio jobs where they're making more money.
Make them accountable. I agree with it.
All right. I agree. I think the referees are playing.
You don't like it as fans. You don't like hearing about it on Twitter from the players because it makes them look like shitheads for bitching about it. And then you get the videos of Max Crosby, who was probably fair enough, saying that Joey Bosa was acting like a crybaby. But, Joey Bosa kind of has that shit coming. He's always got a target on his back talking shit about the Raiders. So I like to let that stuff play out and just hope that the referees do a good job. And so we don't have to deal with, but if this happened, they could have won. Fuck that. I don't want to know.
Kyle, the Chargers should trade or cut Keenan Allen this offseason. Red light, green light.
Oh.
Trade or cut?
They should not cut him. They can trade him. I would trade him personally, but that's just me. I would green light the trade, but I would not. Though two different things: green light the trade, red light the cut.
Yep, Town might have a few words to say about that, Carl.
We might. Okay, Alistair, this one's for you, baby. We should feel sorry for Derek Carr.
No. Red light? Why? The guy's an absolute multi-millionaire for having not one modicum of talent anywhere in his body.
That's boom gates down and stuck. That ain't going anywhere.
What are you feeling sorry for? Guy's a tosser. All right, next.
The only time sorry to just jump in. The only time I've ever felt some affinity towards Derek Carr was that interview he took at the Pro Bowl. When he just clapped back a bit at the Raiders and said, maybe I've never been on that much fire in Las Vegas because that's why I'm heading elsewhere. I was like, hey, you're not a fuckwit completely.
That's not a red light, guys. That's you're on your way to work and you're already kind of running late and a freight train just went through and now you're stuck there for 15 minutes and you are definitely going to be late.
Yeah, the old Union Pacific. Yeah, I know that. Another one.
Yeah.
Andy, red light, green light. Trey McKitty is Tom Telesco's worst ever draft pick.
Oh, man.
That's a hard one.
You know how I feel about Trey McKitty as well. He's had some howlers. But I'm going to be quick and just say green light because I just can't stand him.
Good. I like it.
I fucking hate that guy.
Wow. All right.
Just the feeling that he gives me when he's on the field. That's what I can't buy.
All right, Kyle, here we go. Like in ice hockey, once a game, a coach should be able to throw a white challenge flag and ask the referee to an on-field gladiatorial fight. Whoever is the victor wins the challenge. Red light, green light.
Green light, but once per game, he should just be able to go up. No flag, nothing. Give him one push, okay? Let him know it's happening, and then they fight.
Boom.
There's no flag needs to happen. Just let him know. Or just the ice. One or the other.
This is a very, very morbid question, but Alistair, I'm putting this to you. Red light, green light. The Chargers D will be better in 2023. Oh, I don't even know if I want to say this, actually. I have to now. If Derwin suffers a season-ending injury at training camp. Who put that one together? Wow.
Woo-wee. That was mine. Red light on that.
Yeah, so you just fluff yourself up. Jeez,
well, it builds on the idea that is this defense better with or without Derwin, right? Because they did play a little bit better. So the idea would be Staley's forced to simplify it and all that kind of gear. But no. He's the spiritual leader and all that jazz. So, better with Derwin.
Of course. All right, Andy. Alexander and Faye Spanos should be investigated by the U.S. Administration for Children and Families for naming their sons Dean and their daughter Dee.
I did not know where you were going with that, and I really just wanted to red light it to avoid any kind of potential shit that caused myself from the last question. But yeah, green light that. Dean and Day. It's like, that's bad. That's McKitty bad.
One step away from thing 1 and thing 2.
Yes.
I won't have to worry about it if he's not on the roster next year.
All right, Kyle, this is a hairy one. Justin Herbert is not a top 3 quarterback in the AFC. Red light, green light.
Ooh, in the AFC. Oh.
Head or heart here, Kyle?
Teams. I'd say red light.
Red light. Oh, he is good. I like that.
Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar.
Lamar. I love Lamar. He's fun, but I wouldn't want to build around him personally.
Well, which of Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen is Herbert better than?
Allen.
He's right there.
Oh!
Yeah.
That would be my answer too. If I was going to force him in, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going over.
And I put Burrow's ascension more towards team building than I do him being better than Herbert. I think if we give Herbert explosive weapons on offense, we're going to see similar results.
Yeah. If we give Herbert the Bengals O-line, I'm sure Herbert would be loving it back there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Alistair. Shanahan and Lynch should be fired for not fixing the QB position in San Fran because they have missed the opportunity to win multiple rings and be a decade-dominant team. Red light, green light.
No, I do not fire coaches who make playoffs every year. That is kind of my thing, not to fire playoff winning coaches. So a hard fucking red light. And if you're listening out there, you know who you are.
Ooh, shots fired. I like this.
Do you? Staley's 0-1 in the playoffs, brother. Just like
Trey Lance has barely even played yet. They sold the future to go after this quarterback. We don't actually know if he's good or bad yet. So, kudos to Shanahan and Lynch for building such depth at that position that they made the NFC title game behind a 7th-round rookie and Josh Johnson.
Okay. Andy, this is a bit of a draft question. Wide receiver is now the second most important position in the NFL behind QB. Well, it could be a draft, but that's the question. Red light, green light.
What's that got to do with the draft? So
Because who do you draft? Do you draft O-line or do you draft wide receivers? Everyone wants to draft a speedy wide receiver in the first
Chase,
place.
Penei Sewell.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, righto. In the passing game, I will vaguely greenlight it, I guess. It's a big question just to say yes or no to. But it's important in a passing offensive game, yeah. Having a good
Kyle, this is a bit of an analytical question for you. Hive mind analytics culture has unfairly devalued the RB and linebacker positions around draft time. Red light, green light.
Green light. You can get a lot of value out of a running back that you draft. The bigger issue is renegotiating with them for their second contract, in my mind. Specifically for the Chargers, I would look at Robinson. I think he could make a huge impact on this team. But is he going to be somebody that we want to sign long term? I don't know. But drafting a running back in the first round gives you an extra year of that franchise tag 5th-year option deal. So those back-end first-round running backs do have a little bit of value in that sense.
And Kyle, if you believe like the Jeremiahs and Brooks of the world, when you plop in your first-round running back is when you're otherwise ready to win your Super Bowl right now. And that's where putting in Bijan Robinson might be the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, yeah. It is the position that got criminally destroyed from the CBA and the rookie wage scale because a lot of them come into the league in their prime because they've taken on so much tread in college. So
what you don't want to do is the Steelers where you go Najee Harris in a team that's otherwise not that good. You know, maybe the Chargers right now they're ready to go. Sorry, Jack.
All right, so we will go one more each. So I'm going to go one to Al, back to Kyle, and then I'll finish on Andy. Alistair, this is back to that question that Kyle, I guess, spoke about before, about the top 3 AFC quarterbacks. But this is more precise. Red light, green light. Burrow has won the Herbert Burrow battle, and it was not even close. Red light, green light.
Red light, because we'll see this play out over the next 10 years and the battle ain't over, baby.
The battle ain't over. I tend to agree with that one as well. All right, Kyle, last one for you, sir. This is a bit of a macro look, actually. As an American, I guess you've grown up with a lot more sport and conferences and things, and this is kind of a recent addition that the league's made. But red light, green light, the NFL should return to 6 teams in each conference making the playoffs. Adding a 7th team has hurt the product. Red light, green light.
Oh, that's got to be... I got to say red light. I don't have a problem with extra playoff teams, personally. More games, the better. The bigger impact is having 2 teams with a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And there's reason to believe that byes can be detrimental, hence my whole... resting guys argument. And we actually saw that play over, guys. You probably don't follow baseball, but baseball has recently expanded their playoffs here. And this last playoff season, a lot of teams that had a first round bye that didn't have to play in to get it. They, instead of having like a wild card round, they kind of had a play in round, like almost like a pre-playoffs. But the teams that had that extra bye that didn't have to play in got smoked for the most part because they were too rested. So
interesting.
Actually moving the teams that have a bye from 2 teams to 1 team, I actually kind of like.
Cool.
It's like benefit at your own peril kind of thing. You know, get the thing, finish first seed, get the week off. See if it works.
You should only get that bye if you dominated, in my mind. If your team was that good skill wise.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, last one, red light, green light. I think we all know the answer to perhaps the first part of this question ourselves, but the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl, overshadowing the storyline of how much better the AFC is than the NFC. Red light or green light?
Golly, it's going to be an absolute ball terror of a contest. Going to green light it. Yeah, I'm going to get behind the Eagles and hope they beat the Queefs. Mahomes on one leg. I'm really loving everything that from Howie Roseman to Nick Sirianni to Hurts developing to this team, AJ Brown. It's just awesome. Bradbury, the guys in the defense. It's cool. Greenlight it. And yeah, it will really show that the AFC couldn't get it done. Too many cooks in the kitchen, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I think it'll be. I'm banging for the Eagles this week.
Done.
Yeah.
Red light, green light.
Right
over.
on. And that is just about the end of officially the first season of TDU. Guys, thanks heaps to all you listeners and viewers if you've stuck with us, had a couple of drinks. We've got a bit fast and loose. Hey, Trey Kitty, you know I'm joking, baby. I love you. Thanks for joining us. A really nice way to wind down and finish off what's been a pretty awesome year in more ways than one. Kyle, as always, dude, thanks heaps for your time on and off the show.
Thank you.
Talking football with you, man, it's really good fun, and it's good to have a correspondent in the locale that we can rely on. And look, we look forward to the inevitable that you'll be back on the show soon enough. So until then, take it easy yourself. To all the listeners and viewers, guys, yeah, like I said, it's been a roller coaster of a season for Chargers fans. Thanks again for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube page if you haven't already. You can find us on all except for Amazon now on the podcast sites. And stay in touch with the gang of the four of us. You can find the team at TDU_Chargers on Twitter, and Kyle is at the Kyle D. That's DE at the end. We're going to take a little bit of time off over February and be back for a couple of shows through March, and then heading into draft season. Take care, legends. Bolt up. And don't forget, family, trust, respect. We'll see you next time on TDU.
See you later.
Hey, guys. Ciao.
Back pedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it. Zigzag. 10, 5, high step. Touchdown. San Diego.